This is the anticipatory quiet before 6 o'clock. Oh. City clerk's clock is 30 seconds quicker than mine. We'll go with it. Good evening and welcome to the regular city council meeting of September 18th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and next would be a roll call from the clerk.
Mayor Hartke,
Present.
Vice Mayor Orlando,
Here.
Councilmember Encinas,
Here.
Councilmember Ellis,
Here.
Councilmember Stewart,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Poston.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation tonight will be brought forth by Carolina Uribe from St. Mary's Parish, and our Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Jane Poston. Sister.
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, let us pray. Thanks to God for the gift of life. Thank you, Lord, for your presence. Please send your Holy Spirit and all the board members and others gathered here to this meeting. Give us the gift of wisdom and discernment to have a good communication between us for the sake of our people and our city of Chandler. Make us instruments of love, fraternity, and peace. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for the invocation. Thank you for the prayer and for leading us in our pledge. Before we go to scheduled public appearances, I do want to do a shout out to the Mayor's Youth Commissions in the back. If you guys could please stand. Usually those seats are taken at the end of semester by Perry High School. They have to do their mandatory government class and they wait until December to get it done. So we're glad to see people here in September. If I could have Councilmember Harris join me up front for our scheduled public appearances. For our service recognition, let me turn it over to City Manager Josh Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. We do have two employee recognitions this evening. For the first, I'd like to invite our Community Services Director, John Sefton, to come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. City Manager, and team. I'd like to invite up Raquel Diaz to be recognized. Raquel, come on down front. For her 10-year recognition, Raquel began her Chandler career as a customer service representative at the community center, and then on to Tumbleweed Recreation Center, and then on and on to experience more and more with the Housing and Redevelopment Division. In 2017, she promoted to the administrative assistant position with the Parks Operations and Maintenance Division. Raquel is the consummate administrative assistant. She exemplifies Team Chandler and consistently exceeds expectations in the quantity, quality, and timeliness of her work. She's a strong contributor to the success of the division, and I may say she's the reason for the success for a lot of that division. She's the glue that holds it all together. In 2022, Raquel was nominated and awarded the Employee of the Year for the Community Services Department. Raquel, we're proud of you. We're honored to have you on the team, and congratulations on your decade of service to Chandler.
Mayor and Council, for our second employee recognition of the evening, I'd like to call up Raylyn Nielsen, our Human Resources Director.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to call up Sonia Ebert, please. So as she's walking up, please join me tonight as we celebrate an incredible career spanning 32 years of dedicated service and the retirement of our colleague and friend, Sonia. From her beginning as a COE student in August of 1990 at the water treatment plant, through her pivotal roles in HR since 1993, Sonia has continuously demonstrated her unwavering commitment to the city of Chandler. Sonia's expertise and dedication were the driving force behind numerous accomplishments, including her significant role in the Oracle implementation in 1999 and her recent achievements in the successful implementation of the classification and compensation study changes. Her journey from HR assistant to business systems support analyst exemplifies her growth and impact across the organization. Sonia leaves behind a legacy as our resident HR expert and historian, a contribution that I miss greatly because I was always in her office asking her questions, her great sense of humor, her decorating style, and just her being there. Working at the city is a family affair. Tonight, she's joined by her husband, retired Lieutenant Mace Ebert, her daughter, Danielle, who works at Tumbleweed, her sister, Myra, who works with Neighborhood Resources, her brother-in-law, who works at Parks, so I wasn't kidding when I said that, along with her other daughter, Anissa, her stepdaughter, Sage, her mom and stepdad, and her granddaughter and grandson. I'm sure I missed somebody because they took up a couple rows back there. So please join us in congratulating Sonia on her 32 years of service and her retirement.
Mayor and Council, that concludes our service recognitions for the evening.
Thank you, City Manager. Our next on our agenda is a proclamation with domestic violence awareness. If I could have Katie Kane, from Chandler PD, as well as our domestic violence commissioner members, please come on up. All right. Whereas domestic violence affects Chandler and communities nationwide, including American Indian and Alaskan Native families and communities, and whereas nationwide, more than 56% of Native American women and 43% of men have endured physical violence by an intimate partner. And whereas nationwide 66% of Native American women and 73% of men have experienced psychological aggression by an intimate partner. And whereas American Indian and Alaskan Native youth witness higher rates of trauma amongst their families and friends comparison to non-Native peers. And whereas research shows that having a supportive community that reduces the occurrence of domestic violence, therefore, the City of Chandler strives to create a safe community for all to live free from abuse. And whereas together, the City of Chandler's Domestic Violence Commission, law enforcement, prosecutors, and community agencies educate and support families to help prevent domestic violence in Chandler. Now, therefore, I, Kevin Hartke, Mayor of the City of Chandler, Arizona, do hereby proclaim October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And are you our chairs? Yes. All right. You've been our chair for a while. That's a good thing. They must like you.
Happy to share.
Yeah. Would you like to share some words?
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for your ongoing support in preventing domestic violence in our community. Next week, we are hosting our 14th annual domestic violence event to raise awareness, share resources, and hear the stories of survivors. And this is September 26th. It's a free event. We invite everyone to join us. And I do believe the information is on the screen.
Good. Well, thank you. We deeply appreciate the work, the awareness that you bring to our community, joining others from across the county, because we know domestic violence also knows no borders or city boundaries. So thank you all. And Council, hope to see you all there. And we're going to have welcoming the program and all that is presented. Can we have a photo? Our next proclamation is for the Friends of the Library. If I could have Rachel Kurzik, I'm sorry, Chandler Public Library, and Bob Lowry and Friends of the Chandler Public Library as well. And Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas the Friends of the Chandler Public Library is a non-for-profit, volunteer-based organization of dedicated advocates who collectively support the mission of our library system. And whereas the Friends celebrate over 40 years of service this year, and the generous gift of their time, energy set an example in volunteerism and positive civic engagement contribute to a better community. And whereas the Friends understand the importance of well-funded libraries, and they continue to advocate and attract resources that enhance the library, providing programming, library materials, resources, equipment, services, and special events year-round. And whereas National Friends of Libraries Week celebrate the vital role that volunteers and advocates play in our community and recognizes the significant impact of the Friends of the Chandler Public Library, and encourage all to join in thanking our friends for their generous legacy of service to our library and community. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Kevin Hartke right here, do hereby proclaim October the 15th through the 21st, 2023 as National Friends of Libraries Week.
Would somebody like to say?
Thank you, Mayor and City. I am happy to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Friends of the Library. I would also like to thank our patrons, donors, and volunteers for the support they give the Friends as well as the library. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's have a photo. Thank you so much. Next, we would like to some recognition of our annual Water Festival sponsors. So if Dina Burns from Public Works and Utilities can come up. And then we've also got our Water Festival sponsors that I think we'll be awarding. So take it away.
Yes, I believe we have someone here to accept from Hazen and Sawyer, and I believe Intellis. But I'm not sure if they were able to make it in. Oh, perfect. Come on down.
She's going to hand you a.
So we definitely wanted to thank our wonderful sponsors. Chandler has held our annual water festival for over 18 years, and the festival curriculum was established by Arizona Project WET and provides Chandler fourth graders with a deeper understanding of water in the earth systems, Arizona water resources, and water conservation through a curriculum unit driven by exploration and inquiry. The program includes teacher professional development, in-class lesson plans to activate learning, and a 2-day hands-on water festival, which is what we're talking about today. This festival takes a village to put this thing together. We bring in about 160 volunteers between 2 days. And if it wasn't for our wonderful sponsors, we would not be able to support all the volunteers that make this project happen. So we want to thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you. We do also want to recognize Black and Beach, who could not be here today. But we thank you and appreciate you and appreciate all the support that you've given us through the years.
Thank you.
I guess I can.
Thank you all so much. And next, this is a very exciting one for us who believes in STEAM and STEM in Chandler, recognition of an outstanding biology teacher award, Miranda Thornton. And if Frank Narducci can join us too. Miranda teaches biotechnology at Basha High School for the Career and Technical Education Program. The National Association of Biology Teachers recognized Miranda with the 2023 Outstanding Biology Teacher Award in Arizona. The award recognizes her commitment to student success by providing hands-on and learning experiences and access to cutting-edge lab technologies. Miranda has been teaching science courses for 18 years, with 11 of those at Basha. And we're so honored to have you here as a guy with a biochemistry degree. I'm really thrilled about you being honored. So would either of you like to say anything?
Not really. Okay.
Just last minute was like, Frank, you're going to be saying something, right? This is just a teacher and then some. And what I call the and then some is a teacher that really impacts and changes kids' lives and their pathway for the future. We have teachers like this. We have 5,000 employees, but you do it well. And thank you so much for not only helping our Chandler Unified School District students find their pathway, but for every student that you reach out to, from your early times at Payne when you started there all the way to Basha. So we appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. She's going to move us over here more. Come this way. All right. She wants the five together. I know how she works. Thank you all. All right, that concludes our this portion of our journey tonight. We'll continue. Council, on our agenda tonight, it's all on our consent, but Councilmember Stewart had a question for our city attorney. Councilmember Stewart.
Mayor, thank you so much. And I know we're making some updates to our code as it relates to fireworks, especially in our parks. Can you clarify this ordinance and this won't affect neighborhoods or homes or people that want to do personal sparklers in front of their house or anything like that, will it? And does it change the code to make it less punitive?
If I may, Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, yes, on both accounts. So this ordinance only impacts property that is under the control of the Community Services Department of the city. So basically our parks and city facilities. It does not impact residential neighborhoods, private property, anything like that. Also, it is taking what is currently a Class 1 misdemeanor. So if somebody is cited for littering in the park, they could be cited with a Class 1 misdemeanor, and this will change it to a civil offense, simply a ticket with a fine, rather than the punishment that can go along with a crime.
Thank you, City Attorney. I appreciate the clarification.
Any other questions? Otherwise, a motion would be in order. Seeing no questions, who'd like to make a motion on our consent agenda?
Mayor,
Vice Mayor.
I move that we approve let me start again here. Sorry about that. The City Council regular meeting Monday, September 18th, 2023. Agenda items 1 through 4.
Second. All right, we have a motion by Vice Mayor, second by Council Member Encinas. Unless there are any recusals, Council, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much. That concludes our regular City Council meeting. I'm going to gavel out, and then we will have a study session and have questions related to the agenda on Thursday. Welcome to our September 18th, 2023 City Council study session. At this particular meeting, we've had council members had looked over the agenda and had called in a number of these that they wanted clarification or to discuss in a little deeper order. The first one before us tonight is item number 7. Councilmember Orlando, I believe you had a comment related to the Washington Street study or a question?
Yeah, just real quick, Mayor, I had a chance to chat with the city manager and as well. All I like to see is to take a look at whether this is probably over 20 years old, I believe, or I can't remember exactly when we started this Washington Street. Make one of the option being not to do it at all. And if it's still legitimate to do based upon what we've done Arizona Avenue in the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So just make one of those options, basically do nothing or if it's, okay? That was my concern.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, that's an easy one to add. We can most certainly do that.
Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions on this? Seeing none. The next item called in was item number 11 by Councilmember Stewart related to the use permit of K9 Resorts.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Stewart.
I appreciate that. Yeah, this is an item that we talked about a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Or 2 years ago, where we had the dog park over on Chandler Heights, and I think it was Arizona. And so they've been a great neighbor, which is one of the reasons we had them come back for a use permit, reapprove their use permit. But there's been no complaints. So I'd like to position this for Thursday to approve this with removing stipulation number 5 on there, the condition number 5, excuse me, which basically means they don't have to come back There's a lot of cost associated with these small business owners, and this is fits within the vein of, Chandler being a great place to do business, especially for our small business community. So if council would be so inclined.
So just to be clear, this one is on 1870 West Germain, but you're drawing attention to the other was that they were good neighbors when
Oh,
they
that's right.
started.
Yep.
And this one had a use permit. They've had no complaints. So rather than have them come back for a time, just removing that time constraint. And if there are other issues that are reported, then we can handle them at that point. Is that correct?
Certainly. Thank you.
Council, are you guys good with just removing the 4-year time constraint and allowing them, if we're in agreement here tonight, they'll just change remove that step for Thursday, and we will vote that normally unless anyone has reservations. And then we will see where we go. Councilmember Ellis?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I had spoken with city manager and asked, did we do our due diligence with staff in understanding will this impede in anything that staff would like to do in the future? And there was none, according to what you had told me. So at this time, I'm inclined to go forward with that without the stipulation.
Okay. To my right, councils?
Oh, well, I got a question.
Question by Vice Mayor?
So yeah, so I guess let's take us back a little bit on this staff. What do we, this is normal process for us to do these interns and then a long term, and then after this one, they don't have to come back any longer, correct? I just want to make sure we're not jeopardizing future expectations on individuals that's coming forward.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council. So historically, when we would do conditional use permits, we would kind of approve them with a short leash and then give them a little bit longer leash and a little bit longer leash. And historically, it's been a 1, 3, 5, then we would go unlimited. As we have evolved over the years, we have started off with 2 years, and then we would look to a 4-year, and then maybe a 6, or maybe just go straight to unlimited at that point. We are starting to break kind of tradition and get out of the kind of the rigidity of those tiered timelines. And so Planning Commission has had some similar thoughts over the years as well. In this instance, we're not tying our hands in any way. It still allows us to do the things that we need to do if we get neighborhood complaints, things like that. So at least on this case as well, for tonight, we are good with eliminating that time condition.
Okay, and there, again, just to reiterate, there was no neighborhood concerns or complaints, any of this correct? I know I heard us say it earlier, just want to double check.
That's correct.
All right, so when will you be coming back with some other thoughts on these use permits? Is there something you're doing in the, when we continue, when we fix our codes in November? Or is this something you need to dialogue more?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, these time conditions aren't necessarily codified. We've done these tiered approaches by policy over the years, just through implementation. So we're not looking to change the code in terms of these timelines. We've just simply been taking City Council, Planning Commission direction to adjust those tiers.
Yeah, and I don't mind doing this, so you got my answer, Mayor. But my point is, if we start setting precedent, and then someone comes in here and says, well, you gave it to them, why can't I get it? And there may be extenuating circumstances why we want a particular music. That's a permit, and we usually have a pretty strong stipulation on that, which is probably more intrusive than this one. So I would just say I have no problem with this one, but again, I would be careful about us trying to set a precedent where someone come in here and say, you did it for them, why not for me? So.
Vice Mayor, we hear you loud and clear. And typically, it's neighborhood involvement, community kind of concern that tightens up those timelines for us.
Okay.
So, but we hear you.
Thank you. Thanks,
So,
Mayor.
Other council members? Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like a little clarification. Is there any other businesses or entities that are in the same industry that are within this same use permit?
We have a handful, maybe a half dozen that are this type of facility that are in different stages of their use permit kind of life cycle. So
Okay.
about a half dozen more.
Okay, thank you.
This side.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification. Just a couple questions. There's a cost associated with this process to get use permits redone, and is there neighborhood outreach and things like that? Do you know what that cost generally is for a small business owner?
few $100s, $300 to $500, depending on if they hire help or if they do it by themselves and that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot. Can council remove somebody's use permit at any time? We have the discretion, right?
The zoning administrator God, the word.
If they're bad
popped up in my head.
actors,
Yes.
so let's say we
City
give them
council
this.
we'd have to bring it back to city council for a formal vote, but
Right.
Yes, we can bring something back to city council if there are issues with it along the way.
So the real heart of this is it's just going to make business easier for good neighbors so that they don't have to keep coming back to us for approval and then spend that extra money. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
All right, super. Thank you.
Proceeding down, you guys good, or what's your thoughts?
Yeah,
Councilmember?
just one. I agree. I wanted to ask you just a few questions around these tier steps. Is that something in terms of the tiers, in terms of saying, okay, we have this sunset clause where you don't have to come back again? Is that something that we have done? That's something that we've done in the past, right?
Mayor, correct. From even before I started, we've always had kind of a short leash, a little bit longer leash, and eventually take off the leash. And then it's just them showing that they can be a good community partner.
Okay, and that's pretty much the purpose of it, is to
Yep.
show that you're going to do the right thing
Yep.
once we release the permit to you.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Poston.
Mayor, I see this is a positive for our businesses. I don't have any problem with this one.
Great. Well, Council, I think we're all in agreement, so I don't mean to squash you, but I think everyone's agreeing with you, Councilmember Stewart.
I know. Mayor, I just want to be clear that we're not, our business owners are not burdens on our community. Right? When we sit up here and start talking about wrangling them in or holding them or whatever, they're the lifeblood of the community, and we need them for everything that we do. And so we need to be doing things to facilitate, not regulate them. So I just want to leave that thought. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. And I generally agree with you, although sometimes we've had some business owners that we're less interested in being good neighbors, and that's important to us all. Yeah. City Attorney, can you or City Manager remove that step so when we vote on this Thursday, we won't have to address that? Very good. Next item before us, as brought forth by Councilmember Orlando, item number 12, related to a use permit for Bottle and Bean. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to compliment the staff, the residents, and the owner to come together. I know we had a start and a stop last year at this time, so appreciate you. Harley, was that your doing again? Harley did it again. Thank you, Harley, for working with, man, Harley, I just give it to Harley, man, I tell you. No, and you know the issues behind this. There was a lot of residents that were concerned about this, and I appreciate you working with everyone to make this a win-win for everyone. So nice job.
Great. Item number 13, questions are around the final plat for Chandler Airport Business Center. Vice Mayor Orlando.
Yeah. Micah here?
Micah Miranda. Come on up, Micah.
Oh, he is. Yeah, I have no problem what you're trying to do to assemblage properties here. I guess my question is, what's the employment thought process on this particular parcel?
Through the mayor, vice mayor, this parcel falls within the Chandler Air Park Area Plan, which spells out specific employment uses that the city prefers to see, specifically advanced manufacturing, aerospace aviation, advanced business services. And so what we have here, the final concepts, the renderings were really driven by council feedback from years ago, pushing design and aesthetics of the building. So we're really looking to attract those higher end tenants into that, not just heavy warehouse distribution. So
Okay.
that's really the direction this project is heading towards.
Yeah, I saw the word warehouse in there, and that's a lot of, different interpretation of what that really means. But from what I'm hearing, you're saying you're sticking with the economic development strategy for that area.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any additional questions related to this?
Well done, Michael.
All right. Next item was brought forth by Councilmember Encinas and Vice Mayor Orlando. Has to do with the acceptance of funds from Senate Bill 1720 for the Chandler Police Department. Our legislator, Jennifer Willoughby, had brought this forth. Chief, do you want to give us a brief overview of this, and then we'll take questions.
Sure. Well, good evening, Mayor, members of council. The state legislature passed Senate Bill 1720 back in May, which allocated a number of earmarks for different public safety agencies throughout the state, including two specific earmarks for Chandler PD. The first one allocated $250,000 to purchase pepper ball less lethal systems for patrol officers to carry. This is a device, it's the same as a paintball gun essentially, and it shoots a small paintball type pellet which contains pepper ball spray. It's an irritant. So that's a tool that we can use on combative or violent offenders to help take them into custody rather than escalating to a higher level of force. So that's the first earmark, and that's $250,000. The second one was the earmark for $2 million under the title of Purchase Technology, Increase Services, and Enhance Officer Wellness. So our plan is to take half that money, $1 million of it, and to hire part-time temporary employees, most likely former police detectives, to help current detectives with their caseloads, especially in those high trauma areas of human trafficking, internet crimes against children, and then we have a wide variety of different cold cases, from homicides to sexual assaults. So these people will be able to work side by side with our detectives and help solve, ideally, some of those cases. And then the second part of that funding would be to purchase different technologies to help our detectives in a wide array of areas, and to help purchase new technologies for our new real-time crime center.
Thank you, Chief. And I apologize if Julie Willoughby is watching this. I called you Jennifer. But Chief, just a quick question for me, then I'll go to Councilmember Encinas. As in your communications with Julie Willoughby, any questions that you've had about the dedication and where this money goes, you and her are on the same page?
Yeah, so essentially the spirit of this money is to help in our human trafficking and our crimes against children. And that's where the majority of this money would go, especially our detectives, and then technology that will help our detectives conduct their investigation.
Thank you. Councilmember Encinas.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief, for that clarification. Majority of my questions were mainly the priority and the breakdown of that funding. And you basically answered the question there. And so thank you for that. And thank you to Mrs. Willoughby for her support on this.
Yes, we're very appreciative of her efforts and her support for policing in our city.
Very good. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I told her the other day, for a freshman who's only been on the job a couple months, she did great. So kudos to her. I think she'll be here Thursday night, so we could probably give her thanks then. Chief, this is great stuff. As you know, you've been wanting to do a lot of this stuff for a while. I'm glad she was able to put money in here. But the hires, are you going to go out and actually, is there like a contract, or let me rephrase the question. Is there like a established contract where we go and hire these employees? We have to actually go out and do this piecemeal, where it take more time?
So we're working with the human resources right now, creating that job description.
Perfect.
So that's being created. And once that goes out, then we can put it out and see how many applicants apply and which ones that we want to bring on board.
Okay. So there's no broad contract. We have an employment agency that we could just go in there and ask if they have this expertise, what I'm hearing you say.
No.
Okay.
Our desire is to identify and hire and attract retired or former law enforcement that have experience in these complex investigations.
Excellent. Thank you. Great job. Thanks.
Council, any additional questions related to this? Councilmember Stewart, then we'll go down this way.
Thank you, Chief. A couple questions. One maybe for the city manager. It may take some time for us to get this appropriation from the state. Is there a way that we can do like what we do with Intel, where we use our general fund dollars and get reimbursed so we can move quickly on this?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, this bill was set up that it'll come in quarterly installments to the city. And so we've already received the first installment. We'll continue to receive those funds throughout the year, but we will certainly make sure that we can, I guess, float is the best word, to make sure we can continue to execute the projects even as the money comes in.
Well, that's great. That's what I like to hear.
Good question.
Chief, thanks so much for, I know we talked up here about a month ago about trafficking and just the crimes against children. And I really am grateful for your dedicated commitment to ensuring that that ends in our city. And this funding will help tremendously. So keep communicating with us like you have. Whatever you need to make that end, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, Chief, thank you so much for the presentation. I wanted to ask you a question. You described that we're going to be using the pepper gun. Is that to replace so can you describe what weapons we have currently right now, to maybe like if a person was in a violent outside of shooting, what is don't they have two other weapons that they have?
So this would be in addition. This would
Okay.
augment the systems that are already in place. It starts with our training, our presence, our communication, our de-escalation. And then we have actual tools from our tasers to our RAP technology. We have our batons. We have pepper spray. So we have a wide array. This is another tool that, depending on the circumstance, because they're all different, this could create time and distance so we don't have to engage the suspect. And that's where a lot of the injuries occur. So this allows us to project some type of control from a distance. And then it is a non-lethal device. And the whole idea is be able to gain compliance without resorting to a higher level of force.
Now, do they with the pepper, now will every officer have this on, will this be something that every officer will now have as a part of their de-escalation tool?
No, we would assign, we're going to purchase about 50 of these devices and have 2 or 3 on per team, just like we do some of the other specialty equipment. It's a specialty, so there's enhanced training and responsibility that goes along with this. So every officer is issued the taser and pepper spray, but this is a different device which will require more specialized training. So our desire is to have at least 2 to 3 of these available each team, and there are multiple teams that work throughout the city. So no matter when that call happens, there'll be people that be able to respond in a expedited fashion quickly to get there with this device.
And then that 250,000 will also cover the training. Does that cover the training for the
It would
officers?
cover the overtime for training. It covers the canisters, all the logistics.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Our next item called in was item number 32, and Councilmember Encinas, Councilmember Stewart, Vice Mayor Orlando all chimed in on this one. So water conservation rebate program.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I'm just going to make sure I have this in the right mode. My name is Simone Jolsrud. I'm the Water Resources Manager, and I'm happy to share with you some of the information about our new water conservation rebate programs. So just a reminder that one of our strategic framework items is the sustainability and technology, and that water conservation falls within this area of our strategic framework. So we would like to present to you the proposal for some changes, both expanding some existing programs and then also adding some new rebate programs for our water conservation department. The first rebate, first I'll cover the residential rebates, and then I'll talk a little bit more about some proposals for the commercial side of things. The first rebate proposal is to increase the single family residential grass removal program. And so that would go from the current rebate of 20 cents per square foot of grass removed all the way to $1 per square foot. We would also be proposing reducing the minimum from 1,000 square feet to 500 square feet and including an artificial turf limit of 1,000 square feet maximum in that policy. The single family residential smart controller program would not be changing. It would be the exact same as it is now. We would continue that program on with the reimbursement of 50% of the cost of a controller up to $250. We would also like to work towards developing a customer engagement portal, which is going to be integrated with advanced metering infrastructure as that process moves forward. So this allows customers to receive real-time alerts if they have a leak or any kind of change in water use. It would also allow them to sign up for various conservation programs, rebate programs. And the last change to the residential side of things is that we would propose eliminating the new home initial xeriscape rebate. We just haven't seen very much participation in that program. So the non-residential rebates, we have a few new programs. The first is the large landscape grass removal, and that would reimburse 25%. And this would be for commercial, industrial, HOA, multifamily, any kind of large landscaped area where we would.
Simone, could you change the slide?
Sorry.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you. So this would cover a reimbursement of up to 25% of the cost of the project with a maximum of $75,000. One important piece of this program is that there would also be an additional incentive for removing non-functional grass, and we would pay $3 a square foot for specific areas of non-functional grass where we know that we will see a higher water savings in those particular areas. And if you wanted to talk more about the details of how we define non-functional grass, I'm going to have to ask our program manager to talk about that because it's actually quite complex how we measure slope and how wide the strip is, how close to the street is, whether or not it's actively used by humans. So
perhaps you could just send that to us afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. But that additional incentive really is a helpful way of making each of those programs even more water efficient by saving more money on those particular types of turf. And then the other piece of that program is that you would have to have a minimum of 5,000 square feet of grass being removed to qualify for that program. The second new program is the Water Efficient Technology Rebate, and that would reimburse 50% of the cost of the new technology up to $10,000. And that's going to be any kind of water efficiency technology that has real-time monitoring and alerts built into it. So that could be for improving the water efficiency of a cooling tower. It could be for large landscape areas where you're putting a very large smart controller system in that has flow sensors and more than just kind of a standard smart controller. There are several different kinds of leak detection technologies, and we also want to embrace any new technologies that might come out. So we're really open to any type of new technology that would improve water efficiency. And again, that program it's designed to incentivize water efficiency to implement these technologies that would probably be more in like a commercial, industrial, maybe a large landscape facility. And then the last is the large landscape smart controller rebate. This is not new because we've had a smart controller program, but this is more targeted towards commercial, industrial HOA facilities where we're not limiting it to just one controller. It could be up to 5 smart controllers or even like one central control system that has 100 different controllers as part of the system. So very large areas. And then I just wanted to mention some of the funding sources that would help to support these programs. So we do have the 2 residential programs I mentioned, the grass removal and smart controllers. Those would be funded through our water conservation budget that is already planned for fiscal year 2024. I will mention that budget had a $500,000 increase to help support those programs and a couple of other programs as well, but we had a nice increase there to help with that. The large landscape grass removal that I mentioned was actually just recently awarded a grant through the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority. So there was a $975,000 grant awarded to support that program just last month. And then the water efficiency technology, we have applied for a WIFA grant of a $1.5 million. That we're expecting to see board approval one way or the other next month. So that goes, actually next week it goes to committee for approval and then it'll go to the full board in October. We did also submit an application for a project to remove that same non-functional grass that I was talking about from public property. So that could be parks, streets, stormwater retention basins, potentially even schools. And we have not heard anything on that yet, but we expect to hear something within the next couple months. So that's not a rebate program, but it is a program that we're hoping would help to fund some of the projects we'd like to see happen on public property. And then last, I'll just mention that water conservation customer engagement portal that I mentioned would be integrated with our advanced metering infrastructure. We did submit a WIFA grant request of $150,000 to help cover that portal. And that was approved in committee already, and it actually goes to the full WIFA board for approval this week.
Nice. Councilmember Encinas.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, water conservation has been a big priority here in Chandler, and I'm glad to see these additional changes to adapt to the changes in the city that are going on, trends and what so. One quick question, or a couple of questions. Which of these incentives has been the widely used by whether residents or commercial users, and what is our plan to communicate these new changes to promote it to help to get people to use them even more?
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Encinas. I appreciate the question. We have mostly traditionally focused on more of our residential programs. A lot of our rebate programs have been available to commercial customers, but just to be honest, the incentive wasn't significant enough to really make it worth it for commercial customers or large landscape kind of HOA customers. So one of the things that we're trying to do with these new programs is to really offer programs that are targeted to both audiences. So our most used program has definitely been our residential grass removal. We also have some programs that are not rebates where customers can call us up and ask us to come out and visit their home, and we do water-wise site visits and audits, and we have quite a lengthy list of water conservation programs that are not rebates. We have wonderful education programs. I can tell you all about some of those if you would like, but as far as rebates, the grass removal has been the biggest one. And we do have a pretty extensive campaign going out, assuming that we receive support for these programs and we decide to move forward with them. We would plan to launch a campaign as soon as even like a week from now, by early October. So there's a press release that would go out. There's a third-party digital marketing firm that has helped us to design some digital media campaigns. We have multiple different forums, both in-person education events and then also newsletters and print as well. So our CAPA has done a great job of helping us plan for how to announce these programs.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you for the information. One other last question I have. Obviously, this program is kind of more promoting for grass removal, more turf style type of thing, which is great. We're looking for the water conservation. Is there any concerns as far as like heat aspects here in the desert and those type of effects?
Thank you for the question, Mayor, Councilmember Encinas. We are very conscious in planning these programs about how it impacts heat island effect. So one of the requirements for our grass removal programs, if there are kind of a lengthy list of requirements in the policies for these programs if your application is approved. One of them is that there's a requirement to, when you remove grass, you need to put in at least 50% ground coverage. So things like trees, shrubs, things that are going to create shade in order to minimize that heat island impact.
That's good to hear. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Simone, great job as usual. Appreciate you and the staff working on this. But Simone, one of the things, I don't know if anyone's done this before, but as we're driving around, we notice a lot of landscaping and existing commercial centers have not been, replanted or grown. And have anyone ever looked at incentivizing some of these landlords that own some of these properties to actually put more desert landscaping back into their properties?
Mayor and Vice Mayor Orlando, we are definitely working hard at identifying specific commercial, industrial, HOA properties that we want to develop relationships with and help them to make sure that they're aware of the various programs that we offer to help support their efforts to make their property look beautiful with beautiful low water use plants. So we're approaching it more from the perspective of reducing water use. And so we're starting with the higher water use currently. If they're currently already in desert landscaping, they probably wouldn't make it to the top of our list, but we are definitely promoting all of these programs to everyone.
Yeah, I'm thinking if they could replant desert trees, for instance, Palo Verdes or something that once were there, but they're knocking them down. And I don't know, it's just something as you talk to other cities and communities, see if there's other programs out there we can incentivize them to replant some of those type of shrubs and bushes. Again, the heat island effect I'm concerned about because they were there at one time, and who knows how many times that property flipped or something. So just curious.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. Isn't that covered by code? The trees that are on the commercial lots, aren't they supposed to be Like, does our code enforcement? Well, you would. I can ask somebody else. That's for another, maybe for another meeting. But it's a great question. And you know what? Councilmember Encina's brought up a great point about the heat island effect. Like, we make these changes and that all seems good. And we've asked our neighbors to do a ton, like over and over, year after year. And they've heeded the call, right, to conserve water. And so we need to keep talking to our commercial customers and folks like that. I think we've asked enough of our residents at this point, but these rebates are great. So to stay on that point, I noticed a discrepancy between what we give $1 per square foot to residents, but $3 to commercial. Is that what it?
Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, so the $3 per square foot incentive is it's specific to a type of what we call non-functional grass. So that would be generally it's also known as ornamental grass. So you tend to find in very, very large landscapes. It wouldn't so much necessarily exist on a residential property, but in large landscapes, often there's maybe way out in front near a fountain, there's a bunch of grass, but it's not a piece of grass that anybody ever uses, and it could very easily be converted, or very narrow strips of grass that are very difficult to water efficiently. So, and also grass that's on a slope where it's very hard to get the water to sink into the soil, to the roots. It just kind of runs off because of the slope. So there's various different types of areas of grass that would qualify as non-functional grass. And those are really what we're trying to aim for, just adding an extra incentive to make sure that those large landscape customers are focused on wanting to remove that type of area first.
Sure. Well, great explanation. Thank you. City Manager, I'd like to see a little bit more parity in those rebates for our residents and for commercial. I see grass being grass. I think our neighbors would say the same thing. And then I had another question about, it's $5.7 million is the total cost of this program if everybody used it all up. Is that annual?
So, Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, the total cost, the total amount of each of the grant funds, I believe, is probably what you're referring to. And if we were to manage to expend all of those funds, they would need to be spent by the end of 2026. So we expect those funds to be spent over a multi-year period.
We got a few years. And then that's all grants. There's no general fund involved in that?
The only programs that I've mentioned tonight, which are part of our water conservation budget, are the single family. So the increase from 20 cents to $1 is part of our water conservation budget, part of our regular fiscal year budget. The commercial HOA, that would be 25% of the cost plus that $3 incentive, that's grant funded.
That's grant funded. So how much would you say percentage wise is general fund funded? The reason I ask is we're going out for a utility rate increase, which has water into it, but if we're using general fund for, you follow what I'm getting at? Like, do you know what the percentage is of grant versus general fund?
Well,
you can get back to us with that if you don't know it.
Okay,
I can get back to you with the exact percentages. There was about 500,000 of additional money added to the water conservation budget. I don't know off the top of my head exactly how much of that supports the rebates versus specific individual projects. If I had to give you a round number, I would say roughly 300,000 of the 500,000 is directly supporting single family residential rebates.
Okay.
The rest of the grant funds are supporting, and remember, there's a $3,000 maximum on those single family. There's a $75,000 maximum on the commercial. So we're just talking about a very different scale of what the cost of these projects are. Your average commercial HOA grass removal program that's going to remove 100,000 square feet of grass could be spending $700,000 or $800,000 to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas the single family residents might be spending $5,000 to $10,000.
Final question. So do you see that residential usage more in the like south part of Chandler versus in our fixed income communities in the northern part of Chandler? Or do you see that, like, where do you see it used the most?
Mayor, Councilmember Stewart, I have not done an analysis of that.
I'll circle up with you. Thank you. Great job. That was a rapid fire session, so thank you.
Simone, a question I have for you is that I know this, if council passes this will take effect October 1st. I think November 4th, aren't we giving at Veterans Oasis Park, we're actually doing a tree giveaway to residents as well. So this kind of is timely with that. Could someone help me with that one? This is out of the blue, no parks people, but yeah, I think
Mayor, we can
November
definitely
4th.
send out some more information to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be there. All right. John Sefton. Yeah.
Promoting our urban forest. So be sure to show up November 4th as part of our special day out there. So.
And these could be the kind of trees that we're giving away would qualify under this program. I guess that was my tie. Yeah. Okay.
Mayor, council members, any shade coverage, so trees, shrubs, they do need to be on a low water use plant list. So I don't know the
Yeah.
specific trees that are being given away, but there is a list of low water use plants that qualify for.
Great. Okay. No, but you can ask John Sefton afterwards. Any additional questions on this one? Thank you so much.
If I may, really quick, I just wanted to let you know that our water conservation staff is here and they've done an amazing job of envisioning all of these new programs and working to support this.
All right. The last item called in really had to do with a number of these items related under John Knutson, but I've got on here, ask city manager for a staff briefing. City manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I believe there was a question about infrastructure projects on the agenda, so we can certainly have Mr. Knutson come up and give you an overview of the projects on this meeting.
Mayor, as John's come, when I see the millions and millions of dollars, I always want to get a little bit of a briefing. And it's a good investment, but I just want to hear about it.
Well, Mayor, Council, thank you for allowing me to speak to Mayor and Council and residents tonight about the necessary and difficult projects we have ahead of us. As our city ages, a lot of our infrastructure is approaching 50 plus years of age. And a lot of that infrastructure really has about a 50-year design life. When we talk about pipes, pumps, all the different things that we operate to provide water and wastewater services for the city of Chandler. So what I'd like to do very briefly, if I could, is just touch on, we have about 28 items tonight on agenda, which is, I think, a record for us anyway. About 15 of those are related to some of these construction projects related to aging infrastructure. So first, I'd like to talk about very briefly a little project that we're doing over at the Gazelle Meadows Park, which is just north of Chandler Boulevard between Arizona Avenue and McQueen. The parks folk call it Gazelle Meadows Parks. We in the water, wastewater, stormwater area, we call it Detroit Basin. So we have, it's a retention basin. It's kind of a neighborhood retention basin or a regional detention basin used for stormwater collection. So a large project is formed to install large 48-inch, 30-inch diameter piping to improve the storm drainage, flooding drainage in that neighborhood. They've had flooding problems in the past. This project, that was the emphasis or the beginning of this project was stormwater. From the beginning of that project, we now have decided that we also have water pipes that need to be replaced, sewer pipes that need to be replaced. And then we've also joined this project with the Gazelle Meadows Park redo, which is an amazing project that Mickey Oland and John Sefton are working with us on, which is going to be a really, really exciting project when that's done. And then we'll finish it all off with Erie Street being done. We're kind of going to build a streetscape out of it, so to speak. We'll do some asphalt, stamped asphalt at some intersections. We'll put up some art and things along the way to kind of give the neighborhood kind of a sense of place. And so when that project is wound up in a few years, it's going to be a really, really nice add to that neighborhood and a really great add to the community. So that's one of the projects. Very briefly now, we in Public Works Utilities have a very rigorous wastewater collections assessment program that we've been running for years. And so what we do is we're out running videos, doing manned entries in all of our manholes throughout the city, 19,000 manholes. And we're constantly evaluating our pipes, our manholes to see how they're aging. And each year we come up with a program, and that program includes manhole rehabilitations, pipe rehabilitations, and this 4 of the items that you have today, item 48, 52, 51, and 41, are related to wastewater collections improvements. The first is on Price Road. We have a frontage, the Price Road frontage, which would be, I would say, it's the northbound frontage on the eastern side of the 101 from Elliott all the way to the 202. We'll be working on a sewer line, a large 42-inch sewer line that runs that entire distance. And this work will be going on for probably the next year. We're relining that entire pipe, and relining the pipe is the easy part. It's pumping of and rerouting of the wastewater, which is the difficult part. If any of you have been through the intersection of Chandler Boulevard and Dobson, that's what's happening there right now. We call it a pump around, and it is extraordinarily expensive and difficult. But what you have to do is you plug the sewer upstream and you pump all the wastewater through surface piping all the way around the area of interest that you're working on. And sometimes that can be just one manhole away, or it can be miles away. And in this work that we're doing on Price Road frontage, the pump arounds are going to be very long and extensive back through neighborhoods. It's going to be a difficult project. What we always try to do with these projects as we execute is we always try to maintain at least a mile between, we like to have, 2 miles separation between these projects. And we like to not have heavy construction work on the arterials at the same time. So we're going to try really hard to try to make, for the traveling public, try to avoid those issues. There are going to be times where there will be work, let's say at Chandler and Dobson, there will be work going on there, water line work and things happening there. And there'll also be work happening on the frontage roads. There'll be work happening in these other places. But the project team, our CIP group, consultants and contractors do a tremendous job trying to plan and orchestrate these projects with milestones and trying to keep people out of each other's way and to try to keep the roads traveling safely. So if during these projects we have an occasional hiccup, we'll solve it and we'll get through. But more and more of these projects are going to be coming up because the infrastructure is aging. And if we don't do this, the consequence is not good. So I just want to be sure that you're aware of that. Then we have 2 other smaller manhole projects, item 52 and item 51, which are really just manhole rehabs. Contractor will get in, they'll set up barricades around the manhole, they'll go in and reline the manhole and then move on to the next one. So those are not nearly as intrusive. We began number 41. We began the design on, we're beginning the design on the rehabilitation of our largest sewer in Chandler, a 66-inch line that runs right down the middle of Price Road, right down Price Corridor, from the 202 all the way to Queen Creek Road. And that is a project that's coming. We haven't talked about it a lot. It's a year or so away before we actually get in the field, and that one also does include a pump around. These things are not nice. They're difficult to do, but when you go into these sewers that are of this age and with the videos and you see the linings of these sewers coming apart, we have to get in, we have to get them repaired. And so that's just the essence of what we do. And that one is in design. We have another one in design, which is a traffic project, which is kind of a nice alternative here, and that's Ray and Dobson intersection. There have been concerns over the volume of traffic at Ray and Dobson, safety issues at Ray and Dobson, and so that one is beginning design, and that one will be going to construction in 2026, 27 in that time frame. And when that one happens, that one's going to be a difficult project as well, but these are projects that need to be done. And then finally, I did want to bring up a project we're just finishing up, and some of you may have seen it. It's been in progress a little too long. It's one of those projects where we got into a water production facility. We call it the Arrowhead Water Production Facility. And I believe it's just north of Arrowhead Park. And we have a booster station and tank set up there. And with any of these older facilities, you get into them, contractor gets in, consultant has done their best job of design, and we get in and we, open up the roof and, oh, what do we find? We get in, we start doing pipes and pumps, and what did we find? And so the project grew a little bit. And the time frame grew a little bit. So we've been on that project for about a year and a half, I think, is what I'm understanding. And so the Arrowhead item before you tonight, item 50, is a final change order for that project to close it out and be done with it. And it's what's great for us is we have basically a new booster station right in the middle of town, right where we need it, and we're back in business again. So with that, I'm happy to take. I didn't cover all of them. Like I said, there are 28 items tonight, but I'd be happy to attempt to answer any of your questions.
Councilmember Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor. John, that was very thorough. And that's I just love that stuff. Like, that's the blocking and tackling stuff. That's the core competencies. Your team and your staff just does a phenomenal job. And I like to see that we're investing, right? Because we don't want what happened in other cities in the United States to happen in Chandler. When you're talking about 50-year-old pipes, these are the things we're getting out in front of. So I just appreciate that. And when you see these big price tags, there's a reason for it. But we have the financing for it. And and that's what our bond went for too, right? Like, was from some of our waterworks and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're putting that money right to work. So thanks, John. I appreciate the thorough explanation.
Thank you.
So John, you're going to be here long enough to finish all these projects, I understand too?
As far as you know.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. First of all, thank you for being proactive and bringing this and making sure that we know that infrastructure is needed and we have to go down deep to get it taken care of. We don't want a crisis on our hand. We don't want bad water. We don't want lead in our water. We don't want things breaking down and we're getting foreign substances in our water. What I wanted to do as city manager, my biggest concern, not the fact that we're taking care of business like we should. My biggest concern is communicating to our residents. That tends to be our biggest complaint right now. We have construction going on right now, and neighbors are calling council members and mayors and saying, hey, what's going on with the traffic and things like that. But what I would like to see us do is over communicate during these projects. Perhaps we can have better signage up that says, hey, we're doing this. Go to this link where residents can see and find out more information about that. I definitely would like to see more over communication. If that involves mayor and council getting on videos and talking about it, whatever we need to do, I just think that we need to over communicate so that way residents can feel comfortable and they can understand, especially as we have new residents coming into our community and not knowing what's going on. So we can do that. I know we have a monthly news utility bill that we send out every single month. So maybe we can include that, but I really would like to see over communication throughout this process. Yeah, thank you.
Council, any additional questions for John Knudsen? Yeah, we don't want to over communicate our questions here. All right, Council, that's the last one that's been called in. Thank you, city staff, for the great reports and programs. And any remaining Mayor's Youth Commission, we'd love to have a picture with you all up front. So with that, let me close our meeting.